Hey YouTube. So I have a lot of people asking me how to cook wild game, and pretty much the answer I tell everybody is it's meat. How do you cook meat? The only real difference in my mind when you're cooking wild game is you need to cook it thoroughly. You'll hear a lot of hunters and trappers and stuff say, well, I like to cook my meat medium rare. You can do that, but you're really taking your chances. You've got to remember that wild game is natural meat, and any natural meat carries some kind of, for lack of a better term, infection. I don't know what you'd want to call it, but some of them carry parasites and such things like that. So right now what we've got here is bear meat. Bear is a member of the pig family, so if you don't cook it thoroughly, you have a chance of botulism. And what that is you end up having a whole lot of worms growing inside of you. But if you cook it thoroughly, there's no issue. The pigs that you get from the grocery store, if they weren't full of antibiotics and growth hormones and all these other chemicals, then you'd have a chance of getting botulism then too. Some of the older folks will remember that you can't, when you cook pig, that you have to cook it till all the pink is gone. You can't have any pink in it. Nowadays, with all the chemicals in them, you can have your pork a little bit pink. Same thing with anything. Deer meat, beaver meat. Beaver carries giardia. Everything's got something. So you always want to cook it thoroughly. Don't have to burn it. A joke I always say is I don't eat red meat. I cook it till it's brown. And then that way I don't have to worry about anything, right? It doesn't, even with steak. I prefer my steak medium rare, but I cook it medium because I'm not interested in mad cow disease or anything else like that. It doesn't destroy the flavor. Changes the flavor, but it doesn't destroy the flavor. It's still good. So just keep that in mind when you're cooking wild game. So this is one way that I cook bear. So what I'm going to do right now is I put my favorite spice mix on it, and I'm going to brown the meat. Some of it we've already charred a little bit on the barbecue for flavor. I don't always do that if I'm going to pan fry it. Actually, I seldom do that if I'm going to pan fry it. But so for this here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pan fry it, get it nice and brown, caramelize the outside of it, flip it over, do the same thing, and then I'm going to put a dark beer in there and render that down, make a sauce, and then I'm going to put onions and mushrooms on it. If I was out in the woods, then the way we would cook this is we would do it over an open fire. It tastes 100% better. It tastes great this way, but tastes 100% better over an open fire. It's a preferable way to do it for me and most of my friends. But yeah, we'll just go through this and you can see how I do it. Alright, ready to put these over and take a look. Got some nice caramelization there. Oh yeah, these are looking good. When you're cooking meat, one thing I forgot to mention, low and slow, folks. Cook it on a low temperature, slowly, and that'll keep your meat nice and tender. Won't dry out, all the flavor will be there. Take your time. Put a little bit more spice on. And then shortly after that, we'll add the beer. This is a new beer in the Maritimes. I enjoy it. No, I'm not getting paid for this. But when I cook the meat with this and render it down, turn it into a sauce, my whole family and most of my friends go crazy for it. You can use any dark beer you want, but I like using this. And when we get to that point, come back. Okay, so we're pretty much cooked on both sides now. If you're not totally cooked on both sides, that's okay, because you're still going to cook some more with the beer. So, pour it all in. So what I'll do is usually I'll use about a half a can right now, and then I'll let it cook down some, and then I will add my onions and or mushrooms, and then I'll finish off the can of beer, and then let that render down into a sauce. So we'll let this cook for a bit and render down. Okay, so that's rendered down pretty good. We're going to add our onions. Not adding mushrooms this time because one of my boys doesn't like mushrooms. Get that all spread around. Add the rest of the beer. And we'll let that render down again. So there you have it. There's some bear meat all cooked up. My sauce is still a little bit runny. I like to use it almost like a au jus, I guess you call it. And the meat's cooked all the way through. You dip her in, you get a nice brown sauce. So just remember, folks, if you've got wild game and you're wondering how to cook it, it's meat. The only real difference is you really want to make sure it's cooked all the way through. Cook it low and slow. And if you have a favorite recipe for any other kind of steak or whatever the case may be, try it. There's no chemicals in this. There's no growth hormones, no antibiotics. This is just pure food. So hope you liked the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment. And we'll see you next time.